Moving here. So welcome to Top Management Night. Hopefully you can find a seat. Hi, Dan. And the staff will be serving us shortly dinner, and we'll get things rolling for the evening tonight. So thank you for being here tonight. Please talk amongst yourselves. You can just stay up here. Okay, now we're going to move on to Member of the Year. Member of the Year goes to a person that has contributed to the Apics organization, the chapter, and somebody that really stands out. And as a board, we talked about this last year, and this person brought quite numerous people from their company continually throughout the year, and we would like to award this Member of the Year to Tim Zephyr from Bridge and Clay. We appreciate all the things that he's done to kind of enhance his company and enhance our Apics chapter as well by bringing members of your company. So we appreciate it very much. Thank you so much, Tim, and we appreciate all your efforts. Come on up.
Very honored.
Thank you. Each year we also like to honor our instructors that teach our certification classes and also do our continuing education as the classes that I mentioned that go into different companies throughout the year. And this year, I think it happened last year too, we have two guys on the board that are just tremendous. They're tremendously dedicated. We appreciate them so much and their complete dedication and just overall enthusiasm toward education and everything that they do. So the first, we'd like to honor Todd Swartz. And secondly, along with the continuing education, the next person would be Randy Gilbert, who is actually teaching a class tonight, so he could not be with us. So he is teaching several sections at Grand Valley right now on supply chain management. So we will be sending him his award and getting with him later. So we'd like to congratulate him as well. Next, we would like to, I'm going to introduce Jim here. He is going to introduce our next award.
Hello. What I'd like to do is talk about an award that we as a chapter created years ago, and we actually have only awarded it 6 times. One of our members, Randy Schaefer, sorry about that, Randall, is here with us tonight. Cease Bradshaw, who was a bigwig at Steelcase, Steve Melnick, who teaches at MSU, Deb Smith, who's one of our instructors, Daryl Vandenhoff, who has been promoted to, how would you call it? You would call it an Amish farmer in Hudsonville. And a couple of years ago, we gave an award to Wendy Kremers, okay? We have the situation with the Birkenbile Award is we have our chapter in the past has had a national impact on Apics, and our board of directors decided that they were going to create an award for those people who really helped us to that impact. You know, the first one was given to our first chapter president. You know, the member has made a major longstanding contribution to Apics and Apics education beyond the local chapter, and I think this gentleman qualifies for that. It's only been presented 6 times. I would like to present the award to the person who got me involved with the board of directors as president-elect. His name is Dan Braun. Now, Dan has a distinction that only one other person has. He's the only one of two double presidents of Apics. The first year he was president was 1999, which I believe was about the first year you were at National Nail. And he's been there ever since. So, based on somebody like myself who's been at Irwin 33 years, he's only been there 20 years, But his impact on our chapter has been incredible. And a few years back, we asked him to come back as president-elect. He asked me to be his president-elect. He helped me in numerous ways, and I am pleased to give the Birkenbile Award to Dan Braun. Could you come up here, Dan? I think, wasn't he your instructor, or he got you involved in the board?
He got me involved in the board too.
Yeah.
Yes, so.
We'll talk to him
Yeah,
later.
we'll thank him later. Anyway. So the next award that we are going to give out is for Company of the Year. This company, this last year, has done a lot of in-house training and utilized our, training services through Apics, and has attended a lot of events with us throughout this last program year. And this year we would like to acknowledge LG Chem Michigan for all their contributions toward our chapter and promoting Apics and in-house training just to continue the supply chain training group. So please come up. I'm going to give it to you. I know you have to set it down again. Congratulations. I'll let you, the clicker's yours. Okay. Green button to go.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is Carl Nippa. I'm representing LG Chem tonight, and I want to thank you for this award. It means a lot to us. I got my Apics career started back about 22 years ago when I was at Perigo, my first job out of college, working in sales forecasting. So I signed up for Apics at that time. Really didn't do a whole lot of it with it until I started working with Jim Booth here at Irwin Seating Company, where we went through the training program, and that's when I got my Apics certification, and that's when things really took off in my career. So it's been something that means a lot to me, and moved on to Eaton Aerospace after that, where I got the Apics training program started there, and then now I'm at LG Chem, and figured it was an excellent place to take that on also. Need a lot of help in supply chain there in some areas, and it's been a good experience for the team members that have gone through it. So Todd came in, taught a class of 44 team members is what it started out with. So we had to split it into two classes so that Todd didn't lose his voice every week. But it's been a really good experience, and people have been really happy with it. So I do have a presentation. I'll try to go through this really quick. It's basically some information about LG Chem, who we are, and what we do there. So, all right. We always start out every presentation with a message on safety. It's the most important thing for us, making sure our team members go home the same way they came to work, injury-free. Very important to us. So we go through our safety slide, and again, I'm going to try to go through this quickly so that we've got more time for other things. But we look at the hierarchy of controls being, our personal protective equipment is the lowest level of protection that we can get, all the way up to elimination of a problem. So that we eliminate the opportunity for injury altogether. So this is a very important thing that we present at every meeting, that we start out with a safety message and that. So as far as LG goes, I'm going to take the microphone off here quick. We have established in 1947. If you didn't know what LG stood for, it started out as the Lucky Chemical Industrial Company. 1958, they were established as the Gold Star Company, so that's where you get the L and the G, Lucky Gold Star. So 1995, Lucky Gold Star. 1996, established as LG Telecom, and then 2003 they were established as LG. There's 5 divisions, 5 branches of LG. We're part of the energy solutions market. In Holland, we make automotive batteries, part of the energy solutions market there. And I've got more information on that. When we look at the energy solutions market as part of LG, we're 18% of the revenue, but looking at 34% of the investment for the company. It's a very fast-growing field. A lot of times when we get things to market, they might be outdated by the time we even put them in a car. So it's very fast-moving, very fast-paced. Our cell production capacity in 2015, we're looking at 20,000 gigawatt hours of production in Holland. We're up to 2017, up to 30 gigawatt hours, and by 2020, we're expecting to be at 50 gigawatt hours. So a lot of rapid growth expected. And we're very proud of the automotive experience. Since 2009, about 600,000 electronic vehicles have been running in the field without any safety incidents related to the automotive battery. The branches for LG Chem were located in Holland, Michigan, for the branch that's in the U.S. We also have a tech center in Troy, Michigan. We have a plant in Nanjing, China, along with the R&D center there. Our main headquarters is in South Korea, where we have a plant in Ochang, and we have our R&D center in Daejeon, and our headquarters is in Seoul, South Korea. And then we have another very large plant in Wrocław, Poland. That's the newest facility. And they have an R&D center in Frankfurt, Germany. Here's a video. This is a brief video explaining the LG as a company. I don't know if there's a volume. Looks nice, doesn't it? Yeah. This is our cell assembly lines. It's our cell assembly process. A lot of work, moving parts, a lot of equipment. Very fast-paced lines that make these battery cells. He's talking about how much he likes working there. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, this is in Holland. This is specifically on the Holland facility. So we've got racks and racks of aging racks there. The cell actually has to sit there and age for about 28 days before it's active and ready to put in a vehicle or put into a battery pack. This is our module line that we, I don't know if I hit pause or if somebody else did, but that was our battery module line. We make a battery module that each module has a number of cells in it, and the module is about the size of maybe an RV battery. And we take those modules and actually put them into a battery pack. One battery pack we make is about the size of a large briefcase. Another one's about the size of a big gas tank in a car. So it's different technologies. We make batteries that provide power for your car when you stop at a traffic light, so the stop-start technology. And we also make hybrid batteries that have a battery plus the gas tank. And we're the main provider, we're the sole provider for the Chevy Volt and the Chevy Bolt batteries. So the Chevy Bolt is a full electric vehicle. It's a new product on the market, so it's a very big thing for us. Sorry the video didn't work. I'll see if I can skip ahead to the next. I have like 2 slides left, and that's it. Okay, all right. I was trying to make it fast. Okay, so here's the next slide. This is an overview of our plant in Holland. We did add on quite a bit to this in the recent years because we planned on having this be our first phase of growth. But since we started this first phase, we actually had some additional growth that we weren't expecting, so we actually had to add on to it from there. Sorry. All right. So this starting in 2010 is when we started groundbreaking and started looking at Holland as a site. Basically, started groundbreaking a little bit after that. Since 2012 was when we started moving equipment in. 2013 we started running cells there, and then we started really picking up in 2015. Since then, we've grown very fast. We've added several additional models, added pack production. Just in 2017, the pack plant was installed. So a lot of growth in the last several years. And then the last slide I have just shows an overview of the plant. Oh, I'm sorry. This slide is basically showing that we use a lot of foreign service employees. So these team members that actually live and work in Korea come to the United States and put in a 3-year term here. The plan is for them to teach us, they're the experts on battery production. They come here, teach us, and then we teach them more about American manufacturing, how to be an automotive company and things like that. LG started out as making batteries for cell phones and things like that. So now they come to America to learn from us about manufacturing. We learn from them about battery production. But you can see many Korean team members intertwined in the tree here, and they're here for mostly a 3-year term. We've got a couple that have extended for another 3 years, but they seem to really enjoy the experience. This is an overview of our facility, just showing what the process looks like. It starts out in the electrode area, where we actually do the coating of the electrode and goes into the assembly process is where we make our battery cells. The aging racks is where they sit for about 28 days before they go to the final assembly process and are ready to put in a vehicle. So, and that's it for me. Sorry about the issues, but I do want to thank everybody for considering LG for this award, and I really appreciate everything Todd's done for us. I've known Todd for several years since I started working with him at Eaton Aerospace, but it's been a pleasure working with Todd, and he's been a great instructor for us. So thanks for everything you do for us, Todd. Thank you. Sorry about that. That's all right. Yeah.
Yeah. So apologize for the technology glitch there. We'll make sure we post that video up on the website so you guys can take a look at that later. So again, congratulations to all the winners tonight. We appreciate everything that you do, and it's obviously well-earned and well-deserved awards. So one quick thing we're going to do, unfortunately, we are a viable chapter, and we have business to conduct. So a little housekeeping. We have 2 things that we need to vote on tonight as membership. Only members can vote, so keep that in mind. When you say yay or nay. So we have a couple of things. I'm going to have Jerry come up real quick and just talk about this one. We're making, each year we review a lot of things at our summer planning session, and one of those things is we update our policies, procedures, and bylaws, and we take a look at them. Doesn't necessarily mean we change them, but as all of you know or may have known in the last little bit here, Apics has changed. It's now ASCM. They're keeping the Apics logo for all the certifications, but it's actually Association of Supply Chain Management. So with that, we have to make a few changes to our bylaws just to kind of come in line with the different changes that the corporate has made. So I'll have Jerry just review those really quick. They're just a few changes, and then we also have to talk about the board for this year and just getting everybody's approval. So I'll let Jerry take it from here.
Great, thanks, Derek. We have to make some changes, primarily because Apex or ASCM made changes to their bylaws. For example, they used to have a enterprise membership. They've done away with that. They now call it a corporate membership, so we just want to change the language to reflect that. The other thing is we used to define it that under enterprise it was 5 members or more. They now have 3 categories. It's 100, 300, and I think 1,000 or something. But there's talk of changing, so we wanted to make it a little more generic and just say that each corporate membership will comply with ASCM guidelines. The other thing, the enterprise, where it says can be a non-member, we want to delete that. That's no longer the case. We also want to delete the retired member. Those who fell into that category have been grandfathered in, but it's no longer offered, so we wanted to take it out of our bylaws as well. And then finally, the cost on student member association dues was originally paid by us. They originally changed it as long as they met the requirements that student chapter membership is no charge. These are not radical changes. It's mostly just to bring us into compliance with ASCM. I don't know if anybody has any questions.
There's only one spelling mistake that I see, and that's ASCM.
Right, I caught that. That was my typo. Thank you for catching that. Yeah. It is ASCM is what it's supposed to be. I call it my fat finger syndrome.
So if anybody doesn't have any questions, right now I'd like to open it up for a motion that we accept the proposed changes that the board has presented. We have a motion. Is there any, okay, second, is there any discussion, any further discussion? Then we'll go to put it to a vote. All those in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you very much. The next order of business, I think I have to back up a minute. I got to go through this, so sorry. Let me just go here. Yep. Whoops. Okay. Sorry about that. Okay. We need to ratify the officers for this year as a group. So the officers this year are myself as president, Jim Bowes as president-elect, Kathy Boscher as the vice president of finance, and then Helen Van Tongeren as VP of marketing. So I guess I'd entertain a motion at this point to ratify the board of directors for the 2019-20 program year. Motion, Ron? Jerry seconds. Any discussion about this? Then we'll put it to a vote. All those in favor of ratifying the officers for the 2019-20 program year, please say aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. That was easy. Sorry, we have to do this once a year, and it's just always tough to do this, but put it into a program here. So I'm going to move this back here. Sorry, maybe we can watch a video again. I don't know. It might work this time. So I'm going to, now that we're through this, we are going to bring up our speaker for the evening. I have worked with Michelle now for a few years. Got to know her at a chamber event in Holland. And Michelle is going to present to us what I consider a soft topic or a soft skill to us, and it's on emotional intelligence. And I think along with all the things that we do in supply chain, whether it's forecasting or demand planning or all of this stuff, we need to understand how to work with our teams and our people. And soft skills are crucially important in doing that and bringing our teams together. So I felt that during my program year, when I was looking at the type of programming that we wanted to present, that we wanted to do some soft skills as well. So I contacted Michelle, so I'd like to introduce her now. Michelle Elstefis is a published thought leader and influential speaker on empowerment and cognitive transformation, who has been featured in the national media as well as multimedia publications, which I do have one right here too, which we'll talk about in a minute, different podcasts and radio stations throughout Michigan and beyond. Her recent book, Your Journey to Greatness Through Routine, was birthed out of 2 decades of leadership and over 10,000 hours of study in science of habits and human achievement. She's a certified speaker and coach, the founder of both IPV Consulting, IPV Group Coaching, the creator of the 5 and 5 Performance Coaching Brain Training Program, and the co-founder and president of the GR Business Breakfast. Today, Michelle will share with us information that will transform your perceptions on what it takes to perform at optimum potential and share applicable ways that you can empower others and increase the influence and change your culture. So please join me in welcoming Michelle Elstefis to the stage.
Okay. Think I'm on? All right, well, thank you for that beautiful introduction, Derek. You are a joy. I love what you do, and I love that you love people. And I'm believing that everybody here loves people, the same as I do. So I'm excited to have this opportunity. Emotional intelligence is something that can not only change your life personally, but professionally, and that is what my expertise is. When I go into organizations, companies, and speak in front of groups or work with executives one-on-one, I'm not only interested in their success, but I am interested in their success personally. So the number one compliment that I get is on both the personal as well as the professional changes that I bring about with the topics that I teach. So we're going to be diving into some science. We're going to be talking about some very important information that will lead to an alteration not only in how you think and process, but also how you get along with others. But you know what? Most important, how you get along with yourself. And that's what emotional intelligence is all about. It is the key to influence. So I'm going to define emotional intelligence by the ability to identify first and then train your emotions minute by minute, both internally and externally, because both are just as important. Now, I emphasize the word train because it does take training, right? I mean, you don't see two 2-year-olds in a playpen being very courteous with one another, right? It's just not realistic. So we have to work on it consistently. And it takes time, but it's really worth the investment. You are your best investment because you know what? You're stuck with you the rest of your life, whether you like it or not, right? Okay, so this is a survey that SEU, actually a test that SEA did over a number of months that they worked on this, and they had 1,170 participants. And what they did was they discovered that the higher the emotional intelligence, the higher the productivity, which is really no surprise to me. I mean, when somebody is well adjusted and they can manage their emotions well, then typically they're going to perform at better levels, right? So there's a few statistics I'd like to share with you. I think that'll interest you as well. 58% of your job performance is founded in emotional intelligence. 58%. That's according to talentsmart.com, but also I found it in Forbes and I found it on Inc. So pretty impressive statistic. Also, 90% of those who are top performers are high in emotional intelligence. And then here's the one I really like. Okay, $29,000 more per year goes to the ones that are high in emotional intelligence. That's on average. That's a fun one, isn't it? Okay, so Zig Ziglar, love Zig, right? We all love Zig. So you don't have to be great to get started, but you have to get started to be great. So let's get started being great, shall we? We're going to talk about the 5 elements of emotional intelligence, and I do have some handouts for you by permission, so you can feel free to take notes on those handouts, and there should be some pens on the table for you as well. We're going to go through a lot of material, so hopefully you'll be able to glean some nuggets out of this. Well, the 5 main elements of emotional intelligence are up there on the screen. Now, how many of you have read a book on emotional intelligence? Raise your hand if you've read it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. How many of you are familiar with it? Raise your hand. Okay. How many of you practice it so well that you have it excelled every single day of your life? That's usually the response I get, so don't feel bad. But the 5 elements are self-awareness, self-control, motivation, empathy, and social skills. Now, most of the time when I ask people, hey, are you good at emotional intelligence? They go, oh yeah, I get along with people really, really well. I'm good at it. But here's the thing. It's half how you treat others, but the other half is how you treat yourself, okay? And that's what we mentioned when we first started this out. So let's walk through these. Self-awareness. This is the key to emotional intelligence. Without self-awareness, you don't have emotional intelligence. Because if you can't pick up on how you're feeling at any given moment and process it correctly, then your response is always going to be reactive. And reactive does not help you deliver a good response. So you have to be able to tune into your own emotions, but you also have to recognize the energy that you're bringing into the room that you're in. And we all carry energy with us. Think about it. I mean, have you ever come home and you could tell somebody was a little disgruntled? Come on. We all know, right? And then you say, how are everything? Oh, I'm fine. Sure you are, right? You can feel that energy, can't you? When somebody's upset with you, or you walk into a room and 2 people are arguing, you can kind of feel that, right? So we're giving off this energy whether we realize it or not, okay? And we pick up on it, and we know this. We know this intuitively, but we have to become intuitive about our emotions and how we're delivering it, but also in the way that it's affecting the people around us. All right, so self-control. All right, so we know what this one is, right? Get a grip. You know, get it together, will you? But you know what? Self-control has a lot of facets as well. In fact, emotional intelligence is just filled with layers. It's so deep. And I do a whole 12-month program to help leaders, teams, and cultures to get a hold of emotional intelligence from every angle. So we're just cramming what we can into this short amount of time that I have for you tonight. So first of all, managing impulses. That's an obvious one, right? But having high standards is a big part of being someone who's of self-control. And hopefully your standards are things like honesty, integrity, loyalty, kindness, generosity, and holding those standards high enough that you can apply them on a day-to-day and a moment by moment. And you know what? Let me tell you something. When you think of the word legacy, all right, you often think, oh, it's someone's whole life or what they leave behind them, but legacy is lived out every single moment of every day. Every decision you make is leaving a legacy, either good or bad. So you got to think about it from that perspective. Someone who's also self-controlled, someone who's very adaptable, willing to grow, change, and roll with the punches. Someone who is willing to be adaptable to whatever changes are happening in the workforce. And we all know that we're constantly changing. Now, who would you like to hire? Somebody that walks in and they got a whole list of skills and abilities and, you know, their resume is just amazing. Knock you off your socks, right? But then basically you sit down with them and you feel like there's just something not right about them, okay? You just got this, you know, you can tell you got an entitlement or some kind of an arrogant attitude, and it just comes across in every answer they give you. Well, are you going to hire them? Or are you going to hire somebody that's a little lacking in the talents and the skills, but you know what? They got a great attitude. This is why this is so important, okay? So, motivation. And everybody thinks something different when you hear motivation. And later on in the presentation, I'm going to give you some really practical tips for making sure that you stay motivated, all right? So motivation is basically your inner drive. You know, you're able to get beyond whatever is in front of you, push through and make it happen, right? That includes relentlessness. And then also being loyal to a cause, to a vision, to an employer, to a relationship, to something that is really important to accomplish, okay? Whether it's important for you or important for your company, making sure that you are loyal. And then empathy. And this one, I have actually an emotional intelligence quiz online now. I'll give you access to that later. I'll tell you where that is. But basically, if you take that quiz, a lot of the people that take it score a little bit lower in empathy. And they go, I don't get it. How come I scored so low? I think I'm a pretty empathic person. But the deal is that empathy is a lot different than sympathy. We all have sympathy. Sympathy is basically, you know, oh, I'm so sorry that happened to you. You know, my heart goes out to you. Let me know if I can do anything. That's sympathy. And that's great. Please have sympathy. But empathy is much deeper than that. Empathy is where you put yourself into the skin of the person that's hurting. And you try to think about their position. A quick example would be like you go through the grocery line, right? And the lady just kind of real curt, short. You know, you're thinking, wow, that's customer service for you, right? What's up her craw? But how do you know that she didn't just go through a divorce? Or that she can't pay her bills and she can't sleep at night and she has children at home? Or maybe she lost somebody. That's empathy, okay? So, and that's just one example of many I could give you. But it's taking the time to actually invest in others. So what I would say to that grocery checker is, you know what? I bet you have an amazing smile. I'd love to see it. You know, and it doesn't matter if she does or she doesn't. You sow a good seed to make a difference in the world around you, right? Okay, social skills is the next one. And this is the one that I referred to at the very beginning, okay? When I said everybody pretty much has the social skills or believes that that's what emotional intelligence is. So social skills have to do with being influential, okay? Being a leader and a catalyst change. So someone that is able to not only roll with the changes, but also help the changes push them forward and make them happen. Be involved in it. And pull from the others that are involved in it as well, so that they can give back and contribute to those changes as well and feel more like it's not just being pushed on them, but rather you're coming alongside of them and helping them. So that means you have to be a good negotiator, right? Because whether you're in sales or you're not in sales, you're always in sales. You're in sales as a leader, you're in sales as a parent, you're in sales all the time. It doesn't make any difference, okay? All right, so let's talk about the benefits of emotional intelligence. All right, so a few of them here. First of all, for one, you are going to reduce your stress, which is kind of obvious. If you're somebody that's, you know, managing yourself, your emotions very well, in other words, you're demonstrating the self-control feature, You're also very self-aware, so you're not allowing yourself to fly off the handle. You're really making sure that you know exactly how you're feeling and you're presenting yourself very, very well. You're also taking care of people in an empathic way. You're staying motivated. You have a clear focus and vision, so you're going to be lower in stress. You're also going to moderate conflict much better, okay? So this is a great one, especially if you're in leadership, but even in your personal life. Learning how to moderate conflict so you're not just flying off the handle, react, react, react. And did you know, by the way, statistically, this is just a figure, okay, but all the studies I've done, about 85% of the population lives reactively. Don't believe me? Watch the news for 5 minutes. You'll agree with me. People are just reacting. I'm offended. I'm mad. You ticked me off. This isn't fair. This isn't right. I'm going to protest, whatever, okay? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with any of that stuff, okay? If you feel that passionate about it, please do. But what I'm saying is how is it affecting you? How is it affecting your culture? How is it affecting your life and your relationships? Learn how to moderate conflict, okay? And then increase productivity. We've been mentioning this one from the very beginning when I showed you the chart from the SEA. 1,170 people. Prove it, okay? It's awesome. Promote understanding. You'll be someone that'll be much quicker to not only understand yourself, but understand the people around you when you take the time. And then heighten self-awareness is an obvious one, right? Because one of the elements is emotional intelligence. We have self-awareness right into that. And then foster stability and continuity. So obviously when you are operating in emotional intelligence, you are going to see a tremendous change in the people around you and how they function, because it always flows from the top down, okay? I'm not talking about top-down or bottom-up management. What I'm talking about is how the leader demonstrates and presents themselves is going to flow right into the people. And I'm sure that many of you have seen that time and time again. So it's very important. So if you're a leader and you're not demonstrating self-control, don't expect your people to. It's just not going to happen, okay? So this is a flyer that I always give to everyone that I work with, executive leaders that I work with often. And basically, this is something that kind of explains it on a chart. So your state of mind is the black line, okay? And the red line is the emotions. And to the degree that your state of mind is, your emotions will extend beyond that. That's just the symptom of the reaction, okay? So that state of mind, basically, if it's all over the board like this, you're mad 1 minute and then you're upset and you're not sure why and you're just all over the board and you can't seem to control it and nobody can predict you, okay, then your emotions are going to be beyond that. And so it's going to make it very difficult for you to function well and for others to function with you. So the idea is to create this placid lake, this nice, calm state of mind, so that when you do have issues and you'll have the same ones that everybody else has, you'll be able to rein them back in right away. There'll just be little blips on the screen, okay? So that's the goal here. And that's what I try to not only teach from the front of the room, but that when I work with my executives, this is what I help them to do through brain training. So we're going to talk about that here in a second. So let's begin with anxious and stressed. All right, so anxious and stressed. When you are in that condition, you have the fight or flight. How many of you are familiar with fight or flight? Raise your hand. Okay, so you all know about adrenaline and cortisol. That's not a news flash. Most everybody in the room knows what that is. But let's talk about it for a second, because when adrenaline hits you, you get that superpower, right? But the cortisol, when it hits the frontal cortex of your brain, which is the executive center, that's 40% of your brain, it actually paralyzes it. But see, it's for a survival mechanism. So it works great on the battlefield and when you're actually in danger, life-threatening situations, but on a day-to-day, too much of it for too long can do a lot of damage. And that's what I want to talk to you about right now. So just for an example, say that mom, okay, she gets into a car wreck. And she comes to, she runs over to the car, she realizes her child is trapped in there. So she picks up the car with one hand, pulls out the child with the other one. EMS gets here and they say, "How did you do that?" She says, "I don't know. All I know is I had to get my child out." You see, the adrenaline gave her the superpower to pick the car up, but the cortisol paralyzed the frontal cortex of her brain so that she wouldn't reason herself out of it. And that's how it works for us in stress situations. So it's to our benefit. But when you're in that situation too long, you end up with all of these symptoms. Reduced attention, so now you're finding yourself reading something 5-6 times, you still don't know what the heck you just read, right? Lower perception, someone's talking to you, it's going right over your head, and you're like, what? And then emotional distress, which we already talked about, it's all over the board. Brain fog, brain fatigue. Do you know statistically, people that work in an office, statistically, okay, the majority of them waste the first hour and a half just trying to figure out what they're supposed to be doing. An hour and a half wasted. Going to the coffee maker, trying to clean up their desk, figure out what their task list is for today, maybe checking their emails, maybe checking their social media. So these are all things that can really put more of a drag on you, reduce your productivity, and stress you out even further. So it kind of perpetuates itself. So brain fog, brain fatigue are very common. Sleeplessness is another one. Because when cortisol is surging, okay, and it is a neurochemical, okay, that's part of all the neurotransmitters that come out of the thoughts that you're having, and we'll talk a little bit about the neuroscience so you understand that at a better level. But basically when that happens, it suppresses the melatonin, which is the sleeping neurochemical, right? So if you're just walking through a trail in the woods and, it's late at night, you may be a little tired. All of a sudden you hear growling in the bushes. That's not the time to lay down and take a nap, right? All of a sudden now you're wide awake and you're not going to sleep, not one bit. So that melatonin has been suppressed for your survival. Okay, make sense? All right. So stay in chronic stress for too long, and now we begin to change the cellular structure of our brain. So we shrink the hippocampus, which is the memory center, and a lot of people will blame aging on this, and I know that can be a factor in it. But did you know that 90% of the people that visit an MD is stress-related? Stress-related. So whether we're talking about a drop in immune system or other things that are happening to that individual, it's really a big problem, okay? And so if we're even talking about mental health, we're going in a whole other direction with that, and we could equate that to the same thing, stress-related. And we see it even in our young people today. Amygdala hijack, that's almond shape at the back of your brain. When that's affected, now your emotions are out of control. So I don't know if you know people that have their, I know it's none of you guys, right? But their emotions are just out of control. They're all over the board. You can't predict them. They're in road rage. They're having a fit 9 times a day, and you don't know how to predict them. You don't know how to calm them down. You don't know how to deal with them. And a lot of times it's because of this here that has happened to them in their brain. Okay, so this is some scans. So if you look at the scan on the right-hand side there, you see a resilient brain is all lit up, including the frontal cortex, operating quite well. All right, the stressed brain, or rather that's a depressed brain, the frontal cortex is darkened, the whole brain is darkened. It's not functioning well, and on the left-hand side you can see the neural pathways or the neural networks are affected dramatically. They're not going to function well. They're not going to light up, and some of them have become emaciated or have even denatured. So we're going to talk about what that means in a second. So let's talk about the effects of emotional-related dysfunction. Okay? So with the effects, we have temperamental. Okay? I'm sure you know somebody who might be temperamental. That's just one. And then critical and argumentative. I'm sure you don't know anybody like that, right? And then headaches. Constant headaches. Now I realize there can be other contributors to headaches, but headaches are definitely a sign of somebody that's got way too much cortisol in their veins, and they can't seem to shake it. Hypertension. Blood pressure's been on the rise. I mean, look at how much blood pressure medicine is being dealt out on a regular basis. That's a big problem in today's society. Digestive disorders. Oh my goodness, run the gamut now. IBS, colitis, all these things going crazy right now. It's a big problem, okay? So now let's get into the habits that create this. The symptoms or the habits. So self-criticism. I mean, are you your own worst critic? Oh, I am such a knucklehead. Why do I always do that? You know what? It's always going to be this way. I'll never change. I'm so stupid. I mean, you talk to yourself like that? I hope not. That's horrible, because you will believe what you say about yourself more than what others say about you. And if that's what you're doing all the time, you're bringing a lot of damage to yourself. And I'm going to show you that by science in just a second. So pessimism. All right, you know any pessimists? Doom and gloom every day. You got nothing positive to say. Poor focus and time management. You're buckshot, time management. You start here, then you're here, and then you're here, and you're all over the place. Squirrel. I mean, has anybody got that problem? So these are all symptoms or habits that lead to this kind of stress that lead to a lack of emotional intelligence, okay? So fear and doubts is another one, all right? So if you're full of a lot of doubt, you're fearful about ththings, you're not managing things well, you're always second-guessing yourself, overthinking. I'm sure no one in the room does that, right? And then entitlement and victim mentality. This is the final one. This one has become a big problem in our nation today. And you know what? My heart actually goes out to them. Because this is a sad place to be. When you feel like nothing's ever going to go right for you because it's this person's fault, or that person's fault, or this situation, or this group, or this leader, or this economy, if you're always blaming everybody else, then guess what? You can never, ever fix it. You will be unhappy to your dying day. That is sad. Or if you feel entitled, well, I've been working here this long, and how come I didn't get the promotion? That's just not right. I'm just mad. I'm mad. So you're just going to stay mad? How does that help you? Is that going to get you your promotion? I mean, seriously. And I'm not trying to make fun of it or make light of it. I know there are times when we are mistreated, when we do not get what we deserve. I know that. I know sometimes things are very, very unfair. I get it. I get it. But what I'm trying to say to you is don't let yourself get caught up in that kind of thinking pattern, because it's only going to hurt you and it's never going to take you to your destiny. So this is a practical look at what we're talking about here, okay? So something bad happens to you, you're mistreated, something unfair, something justifiably wrong has happened to you, okay? So then you think about it for days. You lay awake at night thinking about it. You're not sleeping at night because you're thinking about it. You're gossiping to somebody or several people about it, okay? You're looking up information on the internet about it. You're writing letters or emails and not sending them, I hope. Maybe you're sending them, because if you're sending them, now you're laying awake at night thinking how you shouldn't have sent it, right? I mean, I'm sure we can all identify with this. Okay, so it's constantly day in, day out. And so in days, it becomes a mood. And people are like, are you okay? Hey, you just seem a little off today. All right? And then in months, it becomes a temperament. And people are like, gosh, you've been in this funk for a while. Or, is there anything I can do for you? Maybe you should get some help. And then in years, it becomes a personality trait. And people are like, yeah, she's always like that. She's just a crab. Ignore her, okay? Just keep your distance. Or, he's a hothead. He's always just blowing off on everybody. Ignore him. And we don't want that, right? That's not what we want. That's not the legacy that we want to leave. So, our only limitations are those that we set up in our own minds. That's Napoleon Hill. He wrote Think and Grow Rich. Still a big selling book after how many decades? I mean, he wrote that in the early 1900s. Pretty incredible. So, the power to change. Let's talk about how we can change. What can we do to change? All right, Henry Ford, help me with this one. We all know this one. If you always do what you've always done. Thank you. Yes. All right, so if every day you get up at the last possible second and you rush like crazy to get ready in a total stress mode, fly out the door and try to fight the traffic we're having nowadays here in West Michigan, all the way to work, paranoid that you're not going to make it there on time, freaking out and waving your fists at everybody because they're in your way because you left too late, okay? To get to work and dive into another stress bath for the whole day, to come home so you can turn on the news and feel even worse about your day. And yet wonder why things don't change. Right? Waiting for your ship to come in. Someday it's going to be butterflies and rainbows. I just know it. Not realistic, right? So we have to change something. We have to do something different. What if we were to get up earlier, and spend a little time filling your heart and mind with the right things? I started a daily routine several years ago. That's what I wrote my book on, Your Journey to Greatness Through Routine. And I get up at 4:15. Now, I know for some of you, maybe that is too late to get up because some of you are in manufacturing jobs. I get it, okay? But for a lot of people, 4:15 is pretty dang early. And it was for me, because when I first got up at 4:15, I stood there in the bathroom and argued with myself for 10 minutes. And sometimes I lost. And I went back to bed. But after about 3 to 4 weeks of this relentless, motivated, emotionally intelligent pursuit, I love getting up at 4:15. And I spend time in prayer and meditation and filling my heart and mind with the right thoughts and getting ready for the day so that when I hit the world, I am primed and ready. And I have raised my energy level, and I'm living at a whole different level. And I'm seeing success like I've never seen it in my life, ever. It's incredible. So, what if we could change? What if we could change how we process challenges in life? What if we could change how we see ourselves internally and how we treat ourselves internally? What if we could change our inner dialogue? What if we could change how we react to other people? And what if people start to see us different? Wouldn't that be cool? And where would that take us? What opportunities might open up? Hey, what promotions? There's that $29,000 more per year. I see it. It's coming. Right? It's incredible what you can do with yourself if you give yourself a chance. And when you do this, you begin to see things happen like you never have before. Relationships heal. I've seen marriages restored with the work I'm doing with one executive. I've seen people come out of depression that have been through therapy and medicine and all this stuff just by changing the routine. It's pretty incredible. So, the power to change. Here's what I intend to show you with the rest of the evening. I'm going to show you how to rewire, retrain your brain, methods of change, and then we're going to talk about how you can be an intentional thinker every moment. Sound good? All right, so let's get rolling. Retraining the brain. All right, how many of you recognize this slide? Anybody? Nope. One? Okay. Okay, so this, you have 100 billion neurons in your brain, okay? You have since you were born. 100 billion neurons. What you see on the screen are 2 neurons in the front ground, and then, of course, the 100 billion are in the background. So we're going to focus on these 2 guys in the front. All right, so when you think thoughts that electrical energy flashes at 400 billion actions per second, and you begin to grow from the neuron what's called a dendrite. It's pinkish brown in color. It's made out of protein. You'll see it right up there on the screen in the front there, on the top. Okay? And as that dendrite continues to grow, as you keep thinking the thought, that electric energy just shooting back and forth like a lightning storm in your brain, it starts to grow. You see the electrical impulse in the middle there, from neuron to neuron. Okay, now you can get on YouTube and type in neuroplasticity if you want to see this in real time. Neuroplasticity, if you want to see it. I don't bring videos because I see so much technical problems, and my heart goes out to anybody that is struggling with technical issues, because I don't like technology. I like people. So anyway, but you can see it if you want to see it. Anyway, so this is flashing, it's creating this connection. It's called a neural pathway. But you're never just growing one neural pathway, you're growing multiples. So you grow networks of neural pathways. And you have a network for your morning routine, whatever that is, if it's crazy, whatever it is. And you do it every day, day in, day out, day in, day out. You have a network for driving. And you didn't have it when you first started learning. You remember when you got in that car with that driver's trainer and the first time you were nervous as a cat? And you're sitting behind that wheel, okay, 10 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I got to check my mirrors, you know. Oh, foot on the brake, yep, I got to, okay. And back in my day, clutch. Oh, great, now you got to figure out a clutch, right? So I'm giving away my age, but anyway, so you're learning how to drive, and it's kind of freaky. Well, anytime you adapt to new routines, new habits, new concepts, it's going to feel freaky. But you got to push through that, like getting up at 4:15 in the morning. That was freaky. But now, see, you've grown this whole network for driving that you probably don't even remember if you stopped at the stop sign on the way in here, because you're operating out of your subconscious now. It's a neural network that exists in you. If you had to somehow remember everything that's in your networks, your brain would have to be as big as a barn. See, we need these networks. Now, wouldn't that be pretty if we all had brains as big as a barn? So we're growing these networks so that we can repeat the same habits and patterns that we do every day. But what are your habits and patterns? Because the good news is you can rewire those intentionally. It's called self-directed neuroplasticity. So as you're thinking thoughts, good or bad, you're wiring in networks. So let's go back to that scenario. Let's say something bad happens to you. And you think about it day and night. And you gossip about it. And you look up information on the internet about it. What do you do when you're growing a giant, ugly, nasty neural network? And now it's skewing your vision on life, on employment, on leadership, on family, on relationships, on everything. It's affecting you. You have about 60,000 thoughts a day. All of us do. If I could put some funky scale up here and have you each come up one by one and weigh out your thoughts, which way is it going to tip, negative or positive? Because if it's tipping more to the negative, chances are you have grown more negative neural networks than positive ones in your life. But the cool thing is, there's something called neural pruning, because your neurons can only hold so many connections. So basically, you can deliberately allow one to denature by thinking new thoughts and exchanging them. So now you can start having positive networks instead of negative. Here's proof of that, algebra. Okay, now maybe some of you guys are bright enough to have algebra in your brain yet, not me. All right, if you put a gun to my head right now and said, do an algebra problem, you just can't pull the trigger, because I'm done. I don't remember algebra, but I did at one time. I grew a network for it, right? But I don't have it anymore. And that's how it works, right? So you can keep exchanging that and changing it based on what you fill your heart and mind with every day, what you think about every day, what you process every day, and how you process it. Common sense, right? You have 1,000 trillion synaptic connections by the age 35. 1,000 trillion. That's how many you can rewire. Pretty cool, huh? So you're more neuroplastic when you're younger than when you're older, but you're always neuroplastic the rest of your life. Okay, so Hebb's law said neurons that fire together wire together. So this is Cameron Mott. She's 3 years old at the time that this was taken. And this was on November 4, July 21, I'll help you with that anyway, 2014. July 21, 2014. She was 3 years old, okay? And at that time, she was having 10 seizures a day. She would just be playing, and all of a sudden, bam, she'd go down hard. They had to fit her out with a helmet because she was injuring herself. That's ridiculous. She had no quality of life. For 3 years, they ran test after test after test on Cameron, and they could not seem to fix the problem. They just could not get to a result, but what they did do is they found out what it was. It was called Rasmussen's syndrome, a very rare autoimmune disorder where her brain was misfiring on one whole hemisphere of her brain was completely messed up, basically. And this is what was causing the seizures, okay? So it was a bad situation getting worse because her quality of life was affected awfully, and they couldn't seem to find a remedy to it. So they had to make some really drastic decisions, and they had some awful discussions about what to do. But what they ended up doing is giving her a hemispherectomy at age 6. They took out an entire half of her brain. Now, can you imagine what her parents felt about that procedure? This was a high-risk procedure. And they knew that she'd be paralyzed on one side. Sure enough, she was. And that was like, the best-case scenario of what could go wrong, right? So they took out that hemisphere, and when she woke up, yep, sure enough, she was paralyzed. So they arranged 4 weeks of very, very intense therapy. Now, I said to you that you're more neuroplastic when you're younger than when you're older, and it's so true, especially with somebody that young. Incredibly neuroplastic from 0 to 7. All right, you still stay neuroplastic all the way to 35. And after that, you're a little bit less, but you still are. Even now, you're neuroplastic. You can rewire. All right? So anyway, after only 4 weeks, she walked out on both legs. Not only that, Cameron is now 9. And Cameron runs, she plays, she speaks well. She's excelling in school, and she wants to be a ballerina. You see her shooting a bow. You wouldn't know the difference between her and any other child now. Why? Because she rewired her brain to function all on the one side by being intentional through the therapy that she got. I hear thunder. Okay? Pretty cool, huh? I love that story. All right, so first thing we got to do is differentiate what we can control versus what we can't control. The things we can control outweigh those things that we can't control, though. That's the cool part. So you can control your choices and your actions. You can control your attitude and your behavior. You can control your schedule. Hello, your schedule. You're in control of it. How much time do you spend on TV? How much you spend on Facebook? How much time you spend playing video games? You can control all of that, right? So you control all that. You also control your efforts and your response to adversity and difficulties. But what you can't control are the feelings and actions of others, or the choices. You can't control their actions or their reactions and their opinions, and you certainly can't control adversity and societal chaos. So stop posting on Facebook all the things you think are wrong in the world and think you're going to change the world that way. Because all the energy that you have is going into that, and how far is it getting you? How far is it getting you? Or watching the news. Is that taking you to your destiny? I'm just going to be really honest with you, okay? I'm just being really upfront. I'm not saying Facebook's evil, and I'm not necessarily saying the news is evil and that you can't watch it. But what I am saying, you better get picky, because if you don't get picky about what you watch and let in, you're gonna end up changing the game for yourself, one way or the other, okay? But the news is in business just like all of you. The reason that they are able to continue on the air is because they keep putting fear in people. That's why. So they're selling fear, and you're buying it. So they're going to make things look as ugly as they can. Otherwise, they can't stay in business. Actually, I know a newscaster that was fired because she went into a hurricane situation. She was told she had to come back with the most awful story that she could come up with, and she couldn't. Everybody was helping everybody. They were all being kind to one another, and they were all being grateful that they were still alive. And she got fired. Isn't that something? Crazy. All right, we'll get off that. So all personal breakthroughs begin with a change in beliefs. That's Tony Robbins. And this, my friends, is a cardiac intrinsic ganglia that we're going to talk about next. You have a brain in your heart. It has 40,000 specialized neurons. Pretty incredible. Those neurons are so powerful, they actually have more magnetic and electronic energy than your brain does. They really do. Very, very powerful neurons. And that brain, that little cardiac intrinsic ganglia, is always communicating with your brain. So they're always communicating with one another. So what I want you to understand next, if you're going to understand the key to influence, is cognitive consonance versus dissonance. How many of you are familiar with those terms? Anybody? Okay. So cognitive consonance is when your heart and your head are in agreement. Dissonance is when they're in disagreement. Okay? And that's when we pick up on it. So let's say, for example, you've got a master's degree in leadership. You are an awesome, like you know everything. You know how to answer every question right. You know how to lead people. But in your heart, you're always second guessing yourself, questioning yourself, doubting yourself, being hard on yourself, overthinking things, wondering if you made the right decisions. And that's all you do all day long. You're going to come across insecure. You're going to come across inadequate. You're going to come across like you really don't know what you're doing, even though up here you do know what you're doing. Does this make sense to you? So if we want to be authentic, if we want to be genuine, if we want people to believe what we have to say and be influential, we have to create that cognitive consonance. So the only way you can do that is to train those neurons that are in your heart. And the only way you can train those neurons in your heart is to put the right information in there again and again and again. And your thoughts, when they're attached to emotions or feeling, are that much more powerful. They resonate with you. They stay with you. Now, today is 9/11. And my heart goes out to every single person that's ever been affected by that. And I said a prayer this morning. It's a very sad day for a lot of people. And I could ask any one of you where you were on the day that happened, and you would all be able to tell me exactly where you were. Because the emotion tied to a thought stays in your heart. It is collected in that cardiac intrinsic ganglia. That's why it's so powerful. So how you feel at any given moment as you think throughout the day is critical. Okay? All right. So your subconscious mind is 30,000 times more powerful than your conscious mind. And it is all those neural networks that you've created from birth to today. It's everything. Your skill sets, your attitudes about relationships, your knowledge, everything that you've ever thought about or done, your value systems, your offenses, everything. It's all in there, okay? But your conscious mind has the power to impress on your subconscious, but you have to choose. The thing is though, because we have all those neural networks and our subconscious is so powerful, we're on autopilot 90% of the time. Just responding out of who we are, who we've created ourselves to be. Okay? So who do you want to be? Who do you want to be 5 years from now? Who do you want to be 10 years from now? What will you do to change that? All right, let's talk about the subconscious that doesn't know the difference between imagination or reality. I'll give you a couple examples. So you go to a horror movie. I hate horror movies. I don't want anything to do with them. But let's just say you go to a horror movie. That's fine. Go ahead. All right? I'm not going with you. right, so you're in the horror movie, you know, your vital signs are going up, you're gripping the chair, you know, you're kind of freaking out, getting ready to bolt. Your heart rate's going up, all that stuff, right? Why? Why are you doing that? You're sitting in a chair, as safe as could be, because your subconscious doesn't know the difference between imagine and reality. Okay, let's go to the side I like, love stories. I love love stories. Okay? So it's a love story, you know, you're watching, you're feeling all gooey inside, and you start crying, you know, and I don't know, some of you don't cry, but I do. Anyway, I'm a little sappy with love stories. So then I want to back it up so I can cry again, you know. But why am I doing that? I'm not in the movie because it doesn't know the difference between imagine and reality. Let me give you some more proof, okay? So, how to impress on your subconscious. Jim Carrey, you all know him, right? Famous actor. Either you love him or you don't. That's fine. But when he was in 1985, he was kind of a broke actor. You know, he just only did B movies. He really wasn't making very much money at all. And he used to drive his old convertible up to Hollywood Hill, and he would sit on Hollywood Hill looking down over Hollywood and just imagining himself a big-name actor or director. You know, and patting him on the back. Jim, you're so awesome. I mean, he pictured names, faces, how they were dressed, what the room looked like, what they were serving. Imagine him drinking a glass of champagne as they celebrated him, you know. Going up, getting his awards. And Jim, of course, he's very imaginative, so he had no problem with this, right? This is a great task for him. And he'd do this for hours. And he didn't realize what he was doing was he was shifting his physiology, okay? So he was raising the level of serotonin, oxytocin, dopamine, endorphins. Those are the happy neurochemicals. And those you can produce anytime you want. All you have to do is think happy thoughts. I heard of a guy that actually got cured from a terminal illness because he thought he didn't have any life anyway. He went home and bought all the funny movies he could possibly find and just watched them all day long. He came back to the doctor like several weeks later, like 6 weeks or so, and the doctor said, "What are you doing? Your tumor's shrinking. Keep doing it." And I'm not just trying to say, you know, oh, it's always going to work, but what I'm saying is that your body was created and designed to win, but you have to do it right. So Jim Carrey was doing this, okay? And in 1992, he wrote himself a check for $10 million, and he post-dated it out 3 years, Thanksgiving, okay? And so he started including this in his visualization. And he would take the check out, you know, it got tattered over 3 years, right? And he'd imagine going to the bank, cashing it, and how that felt, and what he was doing with the money, and, you know, how people thought of him, and all this kind of stuff. And he was just getting all excited about it, you know, Jim, he's just all geeking. And so he's altering his physiology, he's rewiring his brain the whole time, okay? So now we're into 1995. This is 10 years later from the time he started visualizing. 1995, he gets a phone call. They ask him a star in the movie Dumb and Dumber starting Thanksgiving of that year, the date he post-dated the check out. Anybody want to guess what they paid him? Anybody? Guess? Huh? Very good. You guys are sharp. Awesome. Yes, exactly. You want to see this? Go on YouTube. He's getting interviewed by Oprah. He tells the story himself. Okay? So Olympic and athlete training. Here's another great example. Olympians and athletes always visualize. In fact, the ones that don't visualize enough are always falling short of gold. They not only practice, but they visualize. In fact, they even hook them up to machines to measure their muscle fibers and their vital signs, and they find out that the more they visualize, the better they are at it, the more their muscle fibers and their vital signs match as if they were on the sport, even though they're sitting in a chair doing nothing. It's cool stuff. So they visualize them slaloming down the hill, you know, making that slam dunk as a basketball player, whatever it might be, and they're winning because they're visualizing and practicing. Powerful stuff, okay? As a man thinks, so is he. The best-selling book in the universe. Love that quote. And then the power of your mind. Everybody stand up. We've got an exercise to do real quick. Okay, everybody stretch. Stretching's good. Give yourselves a little bit of arm space. All right, great. All right, so now here's what I need you to do. Take your right index finger, point it to the floor in front of you. All right, so now keep your feet completely still. Don't move your feet. And I want you to twist as far as you can to the right. You ready? Okay, feet still, twist as far as you can to the right. Go ahead. As far as you can go? Okay, come on back. Good. All right, put your hands at your sides. Now I'm going to have you visualize. So I'm going to close your eyes. Okay, now don't move. just imagine your finger is going out in front of you. Do you all see it? It's going out in front of you right now. I want you to twist 3/4 of the way around your body in your mind's eye. Okay, so you ready? Your finger is now 1/4 of the way around. It is halfway around. It is 3/4 of the way around. Everybody see it? Okay, come on back. Look at me. You're going to do that one more time, only this time I want you to go 360 degrees. So all the way around, you're going to twist like a pretzel. Okay, it won't hurt, I promise. Okay? So close your eyes. You see your finger going out in front of you. You see it going 1/4 of the way around, halfway around, 3/4 of the way around, all the way around. Everybody with me? Great. How's that feel? Okay, come on back. All right, this is the last part of the exercise. Take your finger, point to the ground in front of you. This is for real this time, okay? Just like we did the first time. Go as far as you can. Ready? Go. Keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going. Okay, come on back. How many of you went farther? Raise your hand. I usually get almost the whole room. Fantastic, and that's what I got this time. Thanks, guys. Go ahead, have a seat. So that's visualization and the power of your mind, okay? All right, so remember this slide? Everybody remember this slide? So when you think bad thoughts, fear, bad feelings, experiences, in days it's a mood, months it's a temperament, in years it's a personality trait. How about we flip that? How about we meditate on love, gratitude, success? We wake up every morning and think about what we have going for us, how much we love our family, how much we appreciate our job, and at least the tasks that we enjoy in our job, okay? How much we appreciate the people in our lives that support us and love us, because we all have them, right? We all have them. And we're all going to have enemies too. That's just part of the deal. Get over it, right? But be thankful for what you have. Think about what you love. Think about what you appreciate. Start spending your days working on that. What's going to happen? In days it becomes a mood. And people are like, wow, what's up with you? Did you have a good night last night? Well, come on, you guys. You know what I'm talking about. In months, it becomes a temperament. And people are like, oh, man, I love this. I could get used to this. This is awesome, man. I don't know what you're doing, but keep doing it. And then in years, it becomes a personality trait. Oh, yeah, she's always so amazing. She comes in, she lights the room up. I love being around her. Yeah, he's such an encourager of people. He's such a people builder. He's always building people up, making them feel awesome, making them successful. I love him. Now, that's what we want. That's the legacy we want, right? It all begins with your thoughts. Change and alter your physiology. Alter who you are and how you process. Okay, we're going to finalize on this whole talk on how to be an intentional thinker. Okay? I know I'm running out of time. I started a little bit late, so I'll get through this as quick as I can, I promise. All right? So let's be an intentional thinker. First of all, growth motivation daily. So basically, when you get up in the morning, what are you doing? All right? What is motivation? A lot of people define it differently. I define it as anything that motivates you, inspires you, encourages you, educates you, or pushes you towards your destiny or who you want to become. That's motivation, right? So that can be notes, quotes, books, audiobooks. It could be podcasts. It could be a number of different things, all right? And so here's the deal. Zig Ziglar says, of course motivation is not permanent. Neither is bathing, but it's something you should do on a regular basis, right? So you're probably going, oh, this is great, Michelle. You know, I appreciate everything you're saying. It all makes sense. I get it, da-da-da. But I don't have time. Fair objection. I get it. I know we're all very busy, right? Well, let me help you with that, okay? So everybody has to get up in the morning. Your feet hit the floor, and you have to go to the bathroom and use the bathroom. You have to brush your teeth, shower, shave, hair, makeup, pack a lunch, or maybe not. Maybe at least have breakfast, or you grab something on the fly out the door. But you have that, right? I mean, I know you do, because you all look awesome. So what if you turn something on the minute you get up and you start filling your heart and mind? You want to be a better leader? Start listening to some John Maxwell or some, any leader that you like to listen to, okay? Find some podcasts that you can turn on and let your heart and mind be filled with that. Instead of waking up and going, ugh, I hate this day, I hate my job, I do not want to go in, life sucks. Don't do that, okay? Because you're wiring your brain. All right, so you drive 12,000 miles a year. That's a very modest number, mind you, and the rental companies know that. Absolutely they know that. That's how they get you, okay? So let's just say you drive 12,000 miles a year. In 3 years, if you listen to podcasts or educational materials, audiobooks, whatever it is, instead of the radio, that's equivalent to 2 years of college education. You can turn your car into a university on wheels. Imagine that. How about reading? You might say, well, I don't like to read. You read your Facebook? You read your Instagram? Read your Twitter? I bet you do. That counts as reading. So if you just read 20 minutes a day, something that's going to educate and inspire you, encourage you, push you into your destiny, that is equivalent to 20 200-page books a year. Most of us don't even read one book in a year. My book's only 223 pages, so you can count it on the list, right? Okay. So formal education will make you a living. Self-education will make you a fortune. That's Jim Rohn. So next is stay aware and detached. And we've kind of talked about this already, but be very aware of what's affecting you and how it's affecting you, okay? Don't just pour it in. Don't just sit there in front of the TV, and just whatever pops in front of you. I mean, you're in charge, right? You're in charge. Take control. Pay attention to what you're letting in yourself. Don't get caught up in that gossip chain at work. I just installed in 2 large companies a no gossip policy for 3 months, and they're evolving incredibly as a culture. Just something as simple as that. Don't get caught up in it. Stay aware of what you're doing, what you're saying, how it's affecting you, and stay detached from anything that's negative. Practice self-control. Okay? So obviously this is something that takes practice. You're not going to learn it overnight. You're not just going to walk out of here and go, well, tomorrow I'll be self-controlled. No, you didn't get in this situation overnight. You're not going to turn it around overnight. Okay? It's going to take time. You got to train your brain. You got to rewire it. Incidentally, it takes 21 to 30 days to build a neural network. That's why they say you can change a habit in 21 to 30 days, right? Okay. So visualize and focus. We already talked about the power of visualization. You just experienced it to some degree, right? Just a fun little exercise, but it proves my point. Focus. Okay. Focus. Focus on where you want to go. At one time, I had a Harley-Davidson Sportster 1200 Custom. Had to learn how to ride the bike. Struggled. I went out on a biker safety course, and I could turn right, no problem, nice sharp turns, but for some reason I couldn't turn left. And I kept trying these big, awkward turns. Finally, the instructor calls me over. He says, Michelle, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm trying to turn the bike left. He said, what are you looking at? I said, well, I'm looking at the bike and the handlebars and and the pylons. I'm trying to turn left. He said, Michelle, look in the direction that you want to go, the bike will follow. And we're the same way. If we look in the direction we want to go, and we're not distracted by everything around us and everything that's wrong and overthinking and all that crap, then we're going to get there, right? Focus. Focus. And work on social skills and empathy. Read a book on it. Study it. Learn it. Grow in it. Practice it every day. So finally, the power of empathy. When you are truly empathetic to somebody, you create what's called neural resonance. Again, we're going back to those neurochemicals. When someone receives empathy or compassion from you, it causes what's called neural resonance, which is a chemistry release of oxytocin and serotonin, which, by the way, are the 2 that you're low in if you're in depression. Okay? But when you do that, you tear down defensiveness and you create a bond between you and that person. Now, isn't that neat? That is so neat. Companies need more of that. We need more leaders that are willing to demonstrate that. Theodore Roosevelt said it best, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And I try to live my life and my business that way. So this is the last part. We all have a common thread. We all have the same exact common thread. It does not matter who you are, where you're from, what you've accomplished in life, what your family was like. It doesn't matter. We all have this common thread. And it's so powerful that even newborn babies are known to die without it. What is it? I like to call it necessary significance. We all want to be significant. You think about your little kid, oh, mommy, look what I can do. And then as a teenager, oh, yeah, I'm going to show up in front of your peers, right? You got to impress them. You got to be significant. And then you get to be an adult. Oh, I want that promotion. It never stops. It never stops, okay? So as leaders and as cultures and as people and as parents, if we can help people feel accepted and appreciated, give them a sense of value, clarity, contribution, engagement, help them to feel not only secure in where they're going and what they're supposed to be doing, but then recognize them and pull them in and allow them to be recognized for their values, but use their abilities and their talents and their giftings to your advantage, to their advantage, right? It changes the culture. So when we work to change our perceptions, it changes us. Physiologically, neurologically, socially, and intellectually. Which changes how others see us, ultimately changing our culture. Well, I have a 12-month program called IPV Group Coaching. It's grounded in emotional intelligence. We go very deep and very wide, and we involve everybody in the game change. It creates unity, it alters the culture, and it changes how leaders lead. In fact, I love training leaders. Absolutely love it. So I would encourage you to consider it as a possibility. Finally, my book's going to be available over there. Your Journey to Greatness or Routine is a comprehensive step-by-step guide to creating your success routine. Today, only $20. Accountability is powerful. Tell somebody what you plan on changing, what you're going to do different, and have them hold you accountable for it. Finally, I have a survey. I've been given permission to have you fill it out for me, please. It's a tear off on the handout that I gave you. And if you fill it out for me, I'll give you a copy of the PowerPoint, an article I wrote on 5 elements of AI, and a web link to the EQ quiz online. I'm Michelle Steffes, IPV Consulting. It's been a pleasure. Thank you. There you go.
Thank you so much, Michelle. We appreciate all the insight you've given us tonight. I have, I think I mentioned before I met Michelle a few years back, and I'm very passionate about what she talks about. I think it's very important because a lot of times we can get caught up in all the technical aspects of things and miss the big picture. And the different things that she talks about emotional intelligence are so critical to, I think, just overall management and management style and how we interact with people. So she gave us a lot of food for thought tonight, so I would encourage you to check out her book tonight. So also please take a minute to fill out the survey. We are also going to send you a survey later. I didn't want to do 2 surveys tonight about our PDMs. We really appreciate your feedback and want to hear from you on what you would like to see. So please, when you get this, don't just junk it. We really take a minute to just really give it some thought and put some real energy into, like, what do you want from an Apics meeting when you come to it each and every time. So we appreciate that. Please, on the way out, grab some swag from West Michigan Transport, which is my company. Need a stress truck, grab that, pens, all of that. Make sure you check out Michelle's table. Also, to all the award winners tonight, if you would just hang out for a minute and kind of group over in this corner, we're going to get some pictures really quick, and then you're free to go. So we appreciate you coming tonight. Thank you so much. Okay, free to go.